to Empower Hour this Monday, September 23rd. And as promised, we're delivering you a value-packed call today with Ray Higdon as our special guest. Guys, I shared, I don't know if you saw on my social media, 10 years ago, almost to the day, I interviewed Ray Higdon. I was taking his Top Earner Success School. We had just finished. People were having great results. And I think that was back around the time you and Jessica had just first started going into the training side of network marketing. I did her 10K formula for social media. These two, Ray and Jessica, were the first two people that I plugged into for my training when I first entered network marketing. So when we talk on this call, guys, about not being afraid, I was so afraid to ask Ray for an interview, and it turned out to be one of those things that gave me the catalyst to be brave in any situation and not see people with success as people we can't approach, because he immediately said yes. We had a great interview. It's so funny to watch if you ever want to see it, guys. I was so meek and had no idea, but Ray, it's so funny because I was watching you too, and you're so different, right? Like the confidence level and how we are was awesome. But guys, if you don't know Ray Higdon, you may be brand new to network marketing, and that's totally fine, because anybody else has seen Ray, followed his trainings, plugged into his free trainings or his paid trainings or his daily lives that he does that just motivate us and give us the tips, his Rank Makers group and course and membership that you can plug into. He is a well-known entrepreneur and coach and personal development mentor in the industry, and he has helped thousands of people to just accelerate their business and network marketing. He's got a beautiful family, Jessica and his two kids, Sabrina and Graham. And Ray, maybe just a few minutes of introduction of yourself for the people who may not know you, and kind of where your heart is at right now, where you've come from, a little synopsis of Ray.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Um, yeah, I mean, 10 years. So I guess, 2034, you'll interview me again. I'm excited. I'll prepare
Right?
for it.
Let's do it.
And so, yeah, so when I came to network marketing, well, I should say when I got serious about network marketing, okay, because I had failed in a bunch of companies. I had tried a lot of different things and they just, hadn't worked. And it wasn't a company problem, it was a me problem. And when I got serious about network marketing, this was after losing everything in real estate. So I was $1 million in debt, personal foreclosure, went through a divorce, very depressed for like a year. And so I didn't have a lot. I didn't have any kind of momentum or anything. But actually, the switch for me, interestingly enough, was forgiving my dad. And I grew up in a abusive home, didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad, and I forgave him. The next week, I got introduced to a network marketing company, and I just made a decision that I was gonna make it happen. I did become the number one income earner of that company, made millions with that company before I ever coached or trained anybody. And so, by 2013, I had been the number one earner of that company for 4 years, and and then eventually, retired from that position and just focused on coaching and training. And so we started Rank Makers, which you mentioned. Since 2018, we've helped network marketers bring in over 300,000 new customers, 71,000 new reps, and achieve 14,000 rank advances, and been able to do some really cool stuff. Been able to help a lot of 6, 7, 8 figure earners, work with a lot of companies. Right now, I'm either working with or speaking for, I think, 6 different, pretty decent sized companies, and we just love what we do. As far as where my, passion is, 21 months ago, I came to Christ. And for me, that was an exchange, not an addition. And so now I'm, just loving that new, different walk. So still teaching strategies, tactics, etc., but more in a, just a little bit different way, and helping people find their connection with their Heavenly Father as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like, I admire you for doing so, because there's so many times, and I actually wasn't going to start with this question or this topic, but having you say that, there's a lot of times where people say, don't bring that into business. Just keep that to the side, right? And you've been so just not, I don't want to say loud about it, but just so honest about it. This is who I
Hmm.
am now, take it or leave it. Right. And I really do admire that, because when we talk about branding and we talk about being you and we talk about, don't change who you are to bend to what you think people want you to be, you're sticking to that right now. And I
Yeah.
love that. And I can see that it's bringing new people to you. Is that what you felt?
Yeah, and you make it sound like it was a smart marketing decision
No,
by
I don't mean
me.
that at all.
Right. Oh, no, like well, you're edifying me, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
really good for you.
yeah.
Honestly, it was more obedience than anything. My very first prayer, because I didn't know how to pray. I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't know one verse. My first prayer was I could tell that I was different. When I woke up the next morning, I was different, and I just felt this nudge to pray, and I just said, God, tell me what to do. I'll be obedient. And the uh, first thing I got was go live. And I'm like, ooh, I don't want to go live. I don't want to do that. And so I do this emotional, blubbering mess of a video called My Apology to God, because he had rescued me out of a lot of dark, dark places. And I'd never thanked him, and I'd never edified him or never recognized him. And so he does, although he'll allow me to do ministry from time to time. So I've spoken at several churches. I've ran the service at a lot of different places now. He wants me in the marketplace. He wants me to help. And, it's just how I've always been. I've always, my whole life, if I learn something that will help other people, I teach it. Like that's just how I operate. And so imagine if I find this thing and I've learned this is actually what I've been searching for my entire life, but didn't know, and then I kept it a secret. Like that just I'm just not wired that way. And so at first, a lot of people didn't like it. I got some nasty grams. I got some people not happy with me, and so I had to kind of face that, and it was interesting. And a lot of the nastiest stuff actually came from Christians. They didn't like what I was saying. They didn't like how I was doing it, and so it was an interesting time. Since then, I've had a lot of people that have told me, "Hey, I had stopped following you, but man, I really love this new you." And so a lot of people have like come back to me, I think, and so it's been interesting for sure.
It is. And I mean, that's really encouragement for anybody listening to this. It doesn't even have to be based on whether or not you're a believer and how you're showing up, but just staying true. Like you just made a decision. Something happened in your life, you were being obedient, and you're coming out as that person and just being that person consistently, right? Day after day
Yeah.
after day and improving. And I see that in you. So congratulations on that. I'm so happy for you. I was cheering from the rooftops when I saw that
Um,
you. So, I mean, there's so many believers in this industry, right? But a lot of
yeah.
people do keep it very quiet. So that for me, you've shown consistency in once you made that decision, that is who Ray Higdon is now. Consistency and gratitude has always been something you've showed up for from the very beginning. Like when I was taking your blogging course, it was, we could expect a blog from Ray Higdon by 8 o'clock in the morning every single morning. If I messaged you, I knew I was getting a response at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like it was just consistent. And you were very consistent with gratitude and being grateful and doing your practices. What is one practice that you've done since the very beginning, since back then, since when you started, that you have continued to do or maybe even improved on that you do daily?
I create content. I mean, provide value in the marketplace. There's a lot of people that they wish for, pray for, whatever, for more money, but they're not putting value in the marketplace.
Mm.
Like I may have, there definitely are times, like yesterday was one of them. Some days are low production days, but no production days don't exist. I don't have those. So I create content every day. I did, some people know I did a video a day every day for 12 years from July 2009 to July in 2021. And so, and I think I've only missed, I don't know, 7 or 8 days and 15 years or something like that. And so I'm strange, but that's how I'm wired. Like I know people out there need help, and I'm just obsessed with providing that help. And so I have a lot of new practices, but as far as one that's stuck since July 15, 2009, creating content on a consistent basis.
That's awesome. And I think that, you putting value out into the marketplace has been something that is, and doing it consistently, that's your thing. But when people see you show up like that, and you're not asking for something every single day, right? You're just consistently showing up with that value. And that's what attracted people to you. And the guys listening, this is massive value. People are like, how much did you pay Ray to come on to Empower Hour? And I'm like, we didn't. He's doing this out of the goodness out of his heart
I
and
pray
just coming to.
I pray on every interview, and I'm like, Lord, you want me to do this? And I got a yes, so here I am. So
Right on. Well, that's good. Thank you, God. I'm going to ask one more question. I know Peg and Paul have questions as well. Um, when it comes to posture, right now we're in kind of a tricky, and I know Paul's going to get into that a question there, but posture was always your thing. I loved your answers to stuff like that's weird. If somebody would say, "Oh, you're in one of those things," yeah, that's that's weird that you would say that. Like just that, like you flip it back on them, right? Posture right now for people. It's after COVID, we had an overflow of people coming into network marketing,
yeah.
talking to everybody they knew. Everybody's kind of sick of it. What would you recommend for posture right now in network marketing? What can somebody hold on to with what you see in the industry?
Still the same. I mean, it's, posture didn't change. You may have changed, but posture didn't change. And so first to define posture, posture is the belief in what you have, regardless of external acceptance or approval, which allows you to manage the energy of the conversation. And so I found that most people don't fully understand that definition. And so I have to tell a story. And so one of my favorite stories, I know you've probably heard, Angel, maybe all of you, I don't know. But I remember, one of my, people on my team got me on a three-way call, and this guy right away says, I've tried a bunch of these things and none of them ever worked. Right. So that's how we're starting, right? Great start, right? And sometimes calls go that way. And so I'm not going to dance for somebody. I mean, most network marketers would say, well, this one's different. It's got a great comp plan. We got ground floor. They would do some kind of weird song and dance. And instead, I just said, well, he said, I've tried a bunch of these things and none of them ever worked. And I said, well, what makes this time any different? And so he kind of, he wasn't ready for that. So he kind of, and he's like, well, I'm coachable and I need to make money. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so we continued forward. And then at, maybe, 5 minutes in, he said, well, tell me about the comp plan. And he said it just like that, forceful, aggressive. And I said, to me, I said the obvious. Like once you've done posture for so many years, things are obvious to you. And so he said, tell me about the comp plan. And I said, did you know the comp plan of the other companies? He goes, I sure did. I said, I guess it didn't matter. Right? Isn't that the answer?
Yeah.
And he was confused. And so I let it sink in for a second. And I said, listen, if you want to make money, I'm going to show you how to do that. You got to be coachable, which you said you would. Listen, you want to learn the comp plan, go learn the comp plan. But apparently that didn't help you in those other companies, but I can help you if you're coachable. And if you're not, then we're just wasting our time. And so that's posture. I'm not desperately trying to answer their questions in a pleasing manner. So it's you understanding what you have. See, most people out there have problems but no solutions. The network marketer has a solution. You have a solution. So you actually are the prize. You're the minority. You're the people that you're the person that can help someone gain time freedom, money freedom, and be in an uplifting culture. They don't have a way to do any of that. So why do you treat them like why are they so coveted and so such the prize? And I'll do anything to get them, right? You have the prize. And so recognize that and be postured around that. It doesn't mean arrogance, doesn't mean being rude to them, but sometimes you gotta kind of help them get out of their own way. I mean, if this guy has failed, he had failed in a whole bunch of companies, right? I'm trying to give him a different way of looking, because if he looks the same way, he's going to get the same results.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think when you say that, when we come into network marketing, all of a sudden we're desperate and weird, right? We don't know how to talk
Yeah.
to people. We don't know how to act. We don't know how to like even sell something that we're passionate about, right? Or even share something. So that's great, guys. I hope you're taking notes. Paul, I'll pass it over to you. I know you have some questions for Ray.
I just threw out all the questions I have for Ray because I just made a bunch of notes and I want to dive a little deeper into some of the things that he shared. And first of all, one of the books that really helped me with posture was Jerry Spence. He's that lawyer with the long hair and the buckskin jacket. It was called How to Argue and Win Every Time. And it's not about what you think the book is about. And it's just about how we all have that same power. And Peggy, I've done this coaching and with you about how we give up our power to the other person out of respect or whatever. So great book to start off that posture game, because you have to have it. One of the things you talked about in your story is that whole rock bottom, the losing it at real estate and the foreclosure. And one thing I'm struggling with is to how to help people understand that don't let it get to that point. We have an opportunity, we have a business in our industry that you don't have to go through such a bad situation. So a little bit about that, like why do so many people find this industry at that moment in life? Right? Because there's a lot of stories like yours, tons, right?
Yeah.
And then what about just saying, hey guys, why let it get to that point? So a little bit more on why do we have so many? There's literally hundreds of those rock bottom stories in network marketing, and people think that's the only way they're ever going to be a 6 or 7 figure earner is because they don't have that rock bottom story. Like they have to go and get a divorce, you know?
Yeah.
Any comments on that?
Yeah. So, and I've met people that have like trauma envy. They're like, man, my mom and dad were nice to me and stuff. Like, what am I going to do? It's like,
Right.
what are you talking about? Right. You don't have to have whatever you've gone through. God has equipped, anointed, and called you to go help the person you used to be. So I just happen to be equipped, anointed, and called to help people who've been through abuse, who've been through trauma, who have lost it all, right? And so everyone has been equipped to help some type of person, and most often many types of people. And I remember, we had a client that, she was a multiple six-figure earner as an executive, got into her first company, hit $1 million a year her first year in her first company. That company, she had a problem, went to the next company, hit $1 million first year there, right? So I'm like, okay, where have you ever struggled? Because no one relates to the person who's never struggled. Nobody. And so if you get up and just tell how awesome you are, people will golf clap, but they don't connect with you and they don't see themselves in your story. And
Mhm.
so we had to dig. I had to ask a lot of questions. But as a little girl, she was with her, I think 5 or 6 different, siblings, and she remembers her mom and dad divvying up a can of beans and arguing about money. And she vowed as a little girl that she would never struggle with money. See, that's a powerful story. And so everyone has a powerful story, and you are equipped to go and help someone. It doesn't have to be some, drastic thing. So certainly don't go lose it all to try to have a great story. God allows us to go through certain things because, quite frankly, I needed it. I was an arrogant jerk when I was in real estate. I needed to be humbled. I needed to lose it all. It's one of the greatest things that happened to me. And in fact, I don't regret or wish that I didn't go through child abuse because it allowed me to connect and relate with when I go and speak with kids in foster care. When I walk up there, they kind of give me this look like, who's this guy? 2 stories in, they're like, oh, okay, this guy gets me, right? When
Right.
I talk about abuse. And so whatever you've gone through is just an equipping, right? And so you shouldn't desire, I sure wish I went through more, right? You should say, okay, let me look backwards and see who am I called to help? Who am I equipped, anointed, and called? Who do I have confident that I can help? And anything you've escaped out of it, anything you've grown through, anything you survived, you now have confidence to go and help people that are going through that same thing or have gone through that same thing. And so, yeah, certainly you don't let yourself, you know, become worse off, for some reason or anything. And you don't have to have a struggle story. But there are things that you overcame. Guaranteed. There's
Exactly.
something.
Is exactly right. And I was hoping that's exactly where you're going to go. The wait what moment. Everybody's got a wait what. Wait, what? What happened to you? That
Yeah.
wait what moment in your story. Just go look and find it. So that's exactly where I thought you were going to go, and I appreciate it. The
Yeah.
next thing is when you found your faith, right? And you said that there was a lot of haters there with the faith thing. So what about people when they either lead with their faith or lead with their political aspirations? One of the things I tell people is if you recruit every Christian into your downline, then we'll coach you on how to go after the non-Christians and the heathens, right? We'll give you a system for that. So don't worry about turning off like the majority because we have to niche play, right? So a
Mm.
little bit about that because that had to be a thought process for you, right? I mean, you had to get kicked in the pants for you to say, no, I'm going all in on Christ. But there had to be some moments that, wait a second, Ray Higdon, the brand, this is going to shock a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So a little
I
bit
mean,
more on that
there's,
and how people should embrace what happens to them.
yeah, yeah, there's been a lot of those moments, in that the way that God wired me is I'm just a very all in guy. My first week with Christ, I had a Hebrew mentor, an Aramaic mentor, went to Israel for the Holy Land, Holy Land. And I was there on October 7th when war broke out. So it was, just crazy. I've had some crazy experiences. And, one of the wilder times is, I was asked to do this training for my friend Donna Johnson, one of the, biggest leaders in all of network marketing. And she had a group in Arizona, 500 leaders. They had to earn, the right to go there. And so I was praying. I was praying about, okay, what do you want me to cover? Right? What am I covering here? And so I was getting, some downloads, some nudges of what to cover. And then I got read Isaiah 53, which at that point in my career I hadn't read yet. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And so I go and read it, and it's all about Jesus. I'm like, oh, okay. Hmm. And she had told me, she goes, hey, whatever Holy Spirit puts on you, go ahead and say it. We'll have Orthodox Jewish, New Age, non-believers, and some Christians. I'm like, oh, great. And so I go there, and in prayer, I got read Isaiah 53 and do an altar call. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Like, this isn't even a Christian business event. It's a business event. It's not even a Christian business event. And I've just been ridiculously obedient. And so I read it very shakily. I do an altar call. We bring people to Christ. We baptize one lady in the hotel pool. Um, since then, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in the different teams have come to Christ. But I remember my wife is in the front row. And so she afterwards, she's like, I don't know about this, babe. And I'm like, babe, I would never choose to do that. That's what I got in prayer, and I'm just obedient. He wanted me to do it, so I did it. And so she didn't talk to me for like an hour. And so we have to go back to the dinner, and she says to me, she goes, I don't know how we can show our face. And I'm like, babe, I'm telling you, I know that you think this is Ray making these things up and whatnot. I don't want to do these things. That's the last thing I want to do. And so I'm like, babe, if he asks me to do it, he's going to cover it. So we go back to dinner, and we sit with Donna, and she goes, I've gotten some complaints. I've had some people reach out, but thank you for your obedience. While I was up there, she got into prayer and said, Lord, am I supposed to do something? And in prayer, she got, it's not your event, let him finish.
Mm.
And so, like, all I know is obedience, and what it looks like to me is very uncomfortable. It's been praying for a stranger. It's been giving more than I absolutely wanted to. It's been doing things for people I really didn't think made sense. But on the other side of obedience has always been a payoff, has always been some kind of empowerment, gift. And so it's been a wild ride. And so I pray, I mean, every single day I'm praying, Father, what would make your heart happy? Father, who should I reach out to today? I mean, I'm just asking for direction literally all the time. It's a primary theme of our upcoming event is how to better hear from God, and knowing that your heavenly Father wants to know about your business. That, like, if you have, most of us probably are parents, and if your son or daughter comes to you and says, hey, can I talk to you about my career? You're not going to say, no, 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 let's just talk about sports, kid. Right? No, no, no. You want to know about their business. You want to know about their career and aspirations and their dreams. And so does God. He wants to know about what are you up to? He wants to be involved with you. And so that's just how I operate. I bring him into every area of my life and ask for his advice. And he nudges me uncomfortably to do things I don't want, but they always grow me. So it's kind of how I roll.
So that's beautiful. And I think people need to understand that if you drive somewhere to your convictions, yeah, you're not going to get everybody, but this business is not about everybody. It never
Yeah.
was about everybody. We had Tanya Lies on a couple of weeks ago, and she talked about niche marketing. If your products are good for people to 18 to 85, and you're trying to get that whole swath of people 18 to 85, you'll get no one.
Yeah.
So if you're troubled by that, if you're listening to us either on the replay or you're on live with us now, by the way, you still have time to invite people to get to this call. Don't let them rely on the replay because they're never going to watch the replay. If you want to really build your business, you want to build rapport in the industry, start contacting people you want to get to know and use this as the catalyst for you to meet them, to develop a relationship with them. The people you know today are the people who are going to probably join your business sometime in the near future. So that's number one. Number two, if it's politics, if it's religion, whatever it is, and you're not sure, but you feel strongly about it and you're not speaking it into your business, you're going to have trouble building this big. If you truly want to build it big, you want to make a couple $100 a week, that's fine. You can do it by not really having convictions. But so many people I talk to want this and want it big. And that's why we have Ray here, because if you want it big, that's why you're here. You just don't know how to get there. And everybody thinks there's this big mystery with our industry. I asked really what I wanted to ask, because everything else is really those typical interview
Yeah.
questions. So where do we want to go now, Angel?
I think that I'm going to go to Peg next, but I wanted to touch on a couple of things that Ray said, and I really hope people heard it. You are equipped, anointed, and called already. That you're covered already, whatever that calling is. So like when we come into network marketing and we feel this pull, and then we start to feel weird and we start to question how can I do this myself? I love that. You're already equipped, anointed, and called, right? It's already done. So if you have that kind of a belief going into it, and what I loved about listening to you is thinking of the Ray Higdon training back in the days where it was just not just, but it was affirmations, and it was say this, and now it's father, show me, father, like I love that.
Yeah.
It's the evolution of seeing you change, right? I just think it's awesome. My daughter, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say my daughter was baptized at a hotel pool at a networking event, and I was rebaptized in a hotel pool. So it works. It happens.
That's
Go
cool.
ahead.
And talking about the anointing, so I always like to say, okay, is what I'm sharing, is it even biblical, right? And so you look at 2 Samuel 11:1. It says, at the time of the year when kings went out to battle, David stayed home. Okay, so King David, at the time of the year when kings go out to battle, David stayed home. The next verse is Bathsheba, where he commits adultery, commits murder. And so when you don't walk in your anointing, you are very likely going to be miserable, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make regret. You're going to have regrets. So we want to figure out, what is our calling? What is our purpose? What are you calling us for? And the easiest way for us to figure that out is just look at, what has he had me go through? What has he allowed to occur in my life that has given me confidence, because I overcame that? Because I now know I can now go and help the person I used to be. And so all of us have gone through different things, whether it's a tough, we had a tough mom or a tough dad, or tough parenting, or narcissistic relationships, or been broke, or whatever that is. You overcame that, survived that, got through that. You now are better equipped than the person who's going through that or is still struggling with that. And so that's the fastest way for you to know, okay, where is it? Who does he want me to help? We'll just look at, well, who am I already equipped to help? And you've lost a little weight. You don't have to be in perfect shape. You've lost a little bit of weight. Go help people that are in worse shape. Go help people that are trying to lose a little bit of weight. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a guru. You don't have to be the expert. But whatever you've overcome, you can now speak to with confidence, because you've done it.
That's good. That's really good. And I want to just quickly also mention, you've shown and talked about recently about how Jessica did come around, how it's completely changed her faith as well, and how she's come to Christ. So you guys worked through that as well, right? Like that first her saying, "Oh, I don't know," and not talking to you for an hour. Really, I'm sure it changed everything for you guys.
Oh yeah. I mean, he has grown us so much, man. He has just grown us so much. I can't share all the examples. One of the examples is, when we were in Israel, and, the first 4 days were selfies and souvenir shops, and then bomb shelter 3 times, right? Because we were, that was the Saturday of October 7th, where they, killed all the people in the, concert, and dragged people out of houses, etc. And so we just had a very tough week. She booked 6 different flights. They all got canceled. In fact, the day we flew out, they launched 4,000 rockets at the Tel Aviv airport. Of course, the Iron Dome took them all out, but it was just a crazy situation. We're sitting on the plane. We had one last argument, and we're texting back and forth. And I have the thought, are we even going to be together when we land? Like, I really had that thought. We've been married 13 years. And as soon as I had that thought, God showed me where he'd been working on me. Like, the whole time I thought, he's working on her faith. She needs a faith up, man. Actually, it was me he was working on. My issues from childhood of not being heard, not being listened to, not being enough, not being important, all of those things he allowed to surface up to get them out of me, because I don't have them anymore. And so that's what he'll do, because he's the perfect father. we try our very best to give lessons, like I was just at baseball lessons with my 5-year-old, right? And so I'm like, all right, buddy, stand back, hit the thing, right? So we try our very best to give our kids lessons, but he knows the perfect way. And sometimes the perfect way is being in a war in Israel. And that's how I had to learn it. And so, you can wish for the easy way, but a lot of times you're going to have the way you would never expect, but it's the perfect way. It's the way that you actually will learn and overcome that handicap.
So Ray,
Yeah.
it seems to me like you need the sledgehammer version
Yeah.
to make change
Yeah.
versus that whole tap on the shoulder kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's take.
and this is from the first time I ever got any kind of inkling that God was real. So in 2006, I was up in Grand Rapids, Michigan with a real estate partner, and he said, "Hey, we're going to church. Come to church." I'm like, "I don't go to church. No thanks, man. Not my cup of tea. Come on to church." So he convinces me. On the way to church, in my head, I say, "God, if you're real, I want to hear the word water buffalo." Right? How random. Why water buffalo? It's not like I love them or something. And so we get to the church, and for the first time in church history, they have a visiting pastor from India who shares the story of a stubborn water buffalo. Tells an entire story about this stubborn water buffalo. And I'm like, "Ooh, that's strange." And I tell Brian, he's like, "Praise Jesus. Hallelujah." He's running around. I don't do anything. I ask for a crazy sign. I get it perfectly. I don't do anything with it. I literally change nothing. And I'd forgotten that story until I came to Christ in 2022. I didn't even remember it. And so it's just wild. So yes, I do need a sledgehammer sometimes, apparently.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, here's my sign.
Peg, what you got?
That is wild. I love that story. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that, Ray. I love what you, and as I'm listening to you, my question I may have answered myself. You're talking about being equipped, who you're equipped to help, right? And I really feel like strongly that I know who I'm equipped to help. And interestingly, I had my daughter was home from across the country this weekend, and she made a comment to me that really hit me deeply. That she said that she'd never in her life seen anyone change the way I had in the past several years. Just
Wow.
going from being so stressed and struggling and always worrying about things to being so confident and calm and she was definitely attributing it to my business, to what I've been through and to what I've learned. So I really feel like that's who I was, the person in hot water, that I was the frog, that you're turning up the heat, and I didn't know how deeply my life previously was affecting not just me, but my family.
Mm.
That's what really hit me when she shared that with me. So I guess my question is, I have my story, and I feel like I know who I'm equipped to help, but how can I help people like me who was struggling, just getting by, and really didn't have a full grasp on the effect of that? Like, how can I, without feeling like I'm here, come sit on my psychiatrist couch, right?
Yeah.
Help people to really see how it's affecting them.
Yeah. So it's not I must become successful before I impact people. And a lot of people have that way of thinking. And how will one do that? How does one achieve a result, which is money and success, by not doing what precedes the result, right? And so I mean, I probably did 200 videos from the house that I was in foreclosure in. Now I didn't wear it like, hey, still in foreclosure, Ray Higdon here. Like I didn't share that, but I just focused on them. I focused on value. How can I help them? How, what are they struggling with? I didn't focus on my stuff because who cares? No one cared. No one cares about your problems until you're out of them. Then they care about the story, right? And so like I didn't say, hey, I'm really struggling, guys. Could really use a sale here, because that doesn't work. Desperation doesn't work. Need doesn't work. Value works. And so it's interesting that people will wish and pray for money all the time, but they're not putting value in the marketplace. It's like, I can wish and pray for 6-pack abs, but if I'm still eating jelly donuts, I ain't gonna get them. And it wouldn't even make sense. Like, no one eating jelly donuts every day is saying, "Lord, please give me 6-pack abs. I just really want them." Like, they know that that's ridiculous. But there's people all day long that don't provide any value to the marketplace. They don't put any value out there at all. They don't write articles, they don't do short videos, they don't do TikTok, they don't do anything, but they pray for money because they think it's just something to be won, or it's something to be, I don't know, just received, right? It's no, you have to go out there. The marketplace responds to value. And so, create so much value. It's like, I love, there's a Steve Martin interview out there, and he said, he'll be in Hollywood, he'll be at a cocktail party or something, and eventually, every time, someone will come up and be like, "Hey, Steve, hey, I'm a budding actor or actress, and hey, you got any tips for me? Do you got any jobs or anything? And you got any tips?" And he said, "Yeah, come here. Be so good they can't ignore you." And they're like, "Oh, thanks." Right? No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear be better at your craft. No one wants to hear, like, go serve more people. They want to, I want the result, Ray. Well, it's a result. And so it's, do the things that would get you that result. Go provide value. Go, the Bible says, go have a diligent hand. A diligent hand makes offers. A diligent hand meets people. A diligent hand lifts people up. Like, go have a diligent hand. Most people have a very slack hand. They're not doing the work, but they want the results. They're not slumbering during, the time of work, but they want in harvest time. That doesn't work. And so you got to look at, what have you overcome? What have you survived? What have you progressed through? Maybe you're the mom of triplets. Maybe you're the divorced dad. Maybe you're the single dad, whatever, right? There are people out there that need your help. And I remember one last quick story. I got a good friend of mine. When I talked to him many years ago, he does millions and millions now, but back then he was a realtor and he was doing about $200,000 a year, which for, most realtors, that's, pretty decent. And I said, "Dude, you need to like create videos and content and ebooks and courses and stuff." And his answer, very typical answer, was, "There's a lot of people who do better than me." I'm like, "Yeah, they're not your target. It's all the people not doing better than you. It's all the people that you're doing better than." And there are lots of them. And so, that's the key. Is a lot of times, like, if someone looks at, well, how do I do TikTok? Well, there are people, there's Mr. Beast, there's this guy that has 1 billion followers. Those aren't your clients. Those aren't your targets. It's all the moms and pops and the grandpas that have no clue about TikTok, right? Teach them a little bit. You're better off than they are. You're one step ahead. And they did a interview with Frank Abagnale from it's a true story from Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can.
And this guy didn't finish. I don't think he finished high school, yet he was impersonating a college calculus professor, and he was teaching calculus. And they're like, "How'd you do that?" And he goes, "Oh, I just read the chapter the night before." So he was not a guru, not a PhD, not a genius at that. He's just one step ahead. That's all he was. And he was able to impersonate a college calculus professor, having known nothing, right? And so if we're one step ahead, all of those people who are one step behind us, we're called to help. We're called to lift them up. And that's, by the way, also biblical. Judges 3:1 and 2 says, "The Lord allowed the Israelites to experience war so that they could go and help other people who had not experienced war." So we're called to help people with the stuff that we've been through. So we're already equipped. We're already ready. Just go and do it. Go and serve.
Yeah. Love
Peg,
that. Thank you.
Peg, you have done such a great job with providing value on your TikToks. I mean, you're the TikTok queen of what we do, but you're doing that. You're doing that every single day. It's taking that one step further. So I think what Ray was saying, and I want to make sure people got this, because I got it and I wrote it down twice, actually. So, hey, when you get the question about how much money are you making, or you get the question of, well, how well are you doing? How many people have you put into business? You default down to that. Well, if they're making zero and you made $25 last week, that's who your target audience is. And it continues to grow. When people would ask me, well, how did you recruit all of these top producers in your team? I said, well, I started out with the Z players and eventually worked me up to the A players, and then make room for them. But you got to be working with the people that you can provide something to. I think people need to understand that, right? The other thing is the whole Bible thing. I'm going in my head. I wrote down Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. And if you dilute down their teachings and you dilute down their trainings and you keep breaking that story backwards and backwards and backwards, you come up to the Bible. You really do. I mean, it's the
You
ultimate
do.
self-help book, really. You know what I mean? I mean, I think
Yeah.
people wrap this in different bows and, add different bells and whistles to it, but I think a lot of it's already there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so, every day I read, well, I read a little bit, every day, but, today is the, 23rd. Proverbs 23:4 says, work not to get rich, cease from your own understanding. And so you hear that and you're like, oh, we're not supposed to be rich. No, no, no. That's not the purpose. The purpose of work is not to get rich, is to serve others.
Right.
But if you look at Zig Ziglar, who was a Christian, he said, money doesn't create happiness, but everyone wants to find out for themselves. Same thing. It's same verse, just different words, right? And so I know, for me, I mean, I generate over $30 million in commissions and online sales, and I thought that would make me feel really good and make me feel worthy and make me feel all my wounds, and all it did was make me wonder, is this it? Is this all there is? And so I'm trying to save some people some time, because it's okay to have 30 million. It's okay to have 100 billion, whatever you want. The deal isn't to not have, it's to not let it have you. And for you not to be ruled by something that's a resource that you're associating as a source. Most people associate money as a source, identity, safety, security, significance, status. If they don't have much of it, they're emotionally, destroyed. And so it's a resource, right? And so just to see it in that light, and it doesn't have such a grip over you. So go have a whole bunch of it and go use it. Be a cheerful giver, be generous, and crush it, make it happen. Be a good steward of it. If you're not a good steward of it, he's going to take that away from you, because he wants you to become a good steward of it. And ask me how I know. And and so it's just getting better.
You shared that. So marry the process, divorce the outcome. Angel, back to you.
Yeah, I be so good they can't ignore you. I love that. I'm like, okay, I want to get like a frame that, and I want to see it every single day.
Angel, you are that good, and you are that good.
Thanks, Paul. But I mean, that's really Ray. Like, guys listening, Ray shared that he did a video consistently since 2009. That's 15 years ago that he started building his brand, building his consistency, building his value out in the marketplace. Imagine where you could be 5 years from now if you followed what Ray did. If you could have a third of where Ray got right now, would that be worth it? Right? We have to focus on the long-term play. And I love what you said about money. And I'm going back even to when you were sharing about the stories and the struggle, and not coming across as this perfect person or this successful person that people can't relate to. When I first got introduced to network marketing, I spent 7 nights studying it. My kids would go to bed, I'd study it, because I didn't want to be one of those people. And it was finding people like you and other stories of other leaders and companies, but hearing the story behind the success that made me go, this is my people. And I want what they have, because I grew up with a poverty mindset. I was in a toxic marriage at that time. I was broken, looking for hope. And so listening to successful people tell me how rich they were and how, what level in the company they were, I don't care. How do I relate to you? Can I do this? Right. So that was huge. So I think, you shared, there was one question I was going to ask you about your biggest challenge, but I think that, coming out in your faith is probably one of the biggest challenges that you had, and like, not challenge, but like, something you've had to go through. But what is one thing, we come across leaders or even brand new network marketers who kind of hoard their people. They're afraid to be open. They're afraid to have that abundant mindset thinking. But we have to be open to opportunities. We have to be open to coaching. We have to be open to being bigger and better and leveling up in our business and understanding what that means. What is one moment in your network marketing career, your training career, or a conversation with somebody that just stands out as one of those pivotal moments for you, where if you had been closed down, you would have missed that moment? Teaching.
Yeah. I know it right away. So I'll set it up though. So and it wasn't associated. I remember in probably 2010 or 11, I'm like, you know what, if I have $1 million year, man, then that'll mean I've made it. That'll mean something, man. And so, 2013, I had my first $1 million year. 2014, my first $1 million month. 2015, my first $1 million day. I had a $3 million day. Not every day that year was 3 million, but I had a $3 million day.
Nice.
And none of those are it. Okay. Here's the one that was it. So I come to Christ in November 2022, and I had been hired. I don't remember exactly when, maybe 6 months before that, to go and speak in Costa Mesa, California. And there was about maybe 600 or 700 people there. And so I go there, and he had asked me, he said, "Hey, man, since you've come to Christ, can you give your testimonial on Sunday?" And I'm like, absolutely, would love to. And so on on Friday, this girl comes up to me, and I'm like 3 months in. Okay, so I don't know hardly anything. And this girl comes up to me, and she goes, "Well," and she had pink hair, Wiccan necklaces and piercings and stuff, and she said, she goes, "Hey, well, how do you know that God's real?" And so, I mean, 3 months in, what do I know, right? And so I'm like, well, and I start trying to explain it, and I'm like, I just asked for a sign. And so she's like, okay. And so she comes back the next morning, and she said, "Hey, this may seem weird, but the Uber driver last night, he said, 'Hey, I'm supposed to give you this.' And he handed me a prayer book." And I could tell, like, that's different and interesting, right? But I could tell it wasn't convincing. So I said, "Ask for another sign." Well, meanwhile, that day is a Saturday. I'm supposed to give my testimony the next day. Someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, I look forward to your sermon." And I'm like, "Sermon?" And he walks away. I'm like, what are they talking about? Another guy comes up and goes, "Hey, if you need help with the altar call, let me know." Walks away. I'm like, "Altar call? Like, I've never even seen one." Because I didn't respond to an altar call. Mine was, outside of the church. And so I'm like, what is going on? And so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do that. And so that night I Googled how to run an altar call. And so, because I don't know. And so the next morning, I mean, I'm so scared, because I mean, I'm 3 months in, right? How do I do this? And so I shared about church hurt. I shared about father wounds, because those are the two things that are the most likely to keep people from God. Either they've been judged or shamed by someone in the church, and they believe that that's God when it was a person, or father wounds. How we view our biological father is often what we transpose against our heavenly father. So I thought God was mean, uncaring. I'd never be enough. I'd never be good enough. He'd never be proud of me, because that's how I felt about my biological dad. Okay. So those are the two topics that I share at the sermon. And I sloppily do this altar call. 20 people come up and accept Christ, including the girl, pink hair, Wiccan symbols and
Wow.
everything. And
Wow.
she said something really wild to me. So first of all, just that feeling. I mean, I've spoken in front of 27,000 people live. Like, that was a much bigger crowd, and that was awesome. Nothing was like that feeling. And she came up to me, and so the experience was, the 20 people, okay? But a special story of that day was, she came up to me and she goes, "Hey, can I show you something?" I'm like, "Sure." And she shows me this crumpled up $5 bill. And she says, that morning, she said, "God, if you're real, I want to find something more than $5 on the ground." And she found this crumpled up $5 bill. And when you uncrumpled it, it had 20 inside.
Whoa.
And that's what got her to
Wow.
say, "Okay, God, I get it." She accepted Christ. About 20 people did. That was my very first altar call ever, 3 months in. And that just, it gave me such a different feeling. I've helped people make millions of dollars. I've helped people get off foreclosure, homelessness. I've helped people get over depression, or suicidal, or thoughts, etc. But nothing gave me that type of feeling. And I'm just like, I want more of that. And so I'm like, "God, please give me this opportunity more and more." And he has. And so again, I'm not called. He doesn't want me in ministry. He's told me that many times. He wants me in the marketplace, and to help lead people with all the things he's equipped me with. He wants me to be someone of value, to value others, and to tell them the source of my hope, and to do it with love, to not do it with, judgment or shaming or beating them over the head with the Bible, but to do it with love, and that every soul is valuable. And so that is a moment that I will forever cherish.
I
And
just
you
want to
can take,
share. something with you, Ray. I love that story. It was amazing. And I'm getting messages from people of how much
Me
they're
too.
getting out of this.
That's what
And
my phone
Yeah,
is
I don't see any
literally
messages, so I can't see anything.
my feed is
I'm
blowing
getting
up.
just, yeah, I'm getting direct messages coming to
Oh,
me, and someone who just said to me, this answers the pieces of the puzzle for me because
mm,
I've always had a hard time. I have had a hard time reconciling my faith with my business.
yeah,
So yeah, this is really powerful. Thank you.
yeah.
Angel, I think we're kind of running out of time, and I want to know about
We
faith over
are.
fear.
And
I'm going to let
yeah,
you ask the question, but just one thing I want to say. One thing I want to say, Ray. You're known for network marketing. Faith over fear kind of bridges that. It's this kind of like this straddling of the
Yeah.
businesses. So, what value are people going to get out of faith over fear? So, we'll close with that because we're kind of running out of time here. But go ahead, Angel. I just wanted to show that how faith over fear, time to place. I know you got a ton of speakers there, and then how does somebody who hasn't found their faith yet? I didn't even know what an altar call was because I grew up Roman Catholic.
Okay.
Someday I'd love to tell you my Korea story because the churches in Korea are phenomenal. Angel, why don't you take us out and let Ray talk a little bit about faith over fear?
Sure.
Notes down because I'm taking notes too, not just for myself, but because we like to recap the following week, Ray, of what our leaders have come in and our speakers have come in and shared. Do the scary, guys. If you can't relate to Ray's story, because maybe your faith isn't there, maybe you don't have that relationship with Christ yet, where you're like, okay, I don't quite get that. Put it into your business. What if you did that scary thing and you reached out to that one person that you know really needs either the business, your products, you're really holding back and it could change their lives. We talk so much about sitting back and watching our teams walk the stage and what that feels like. It doesn't come from ego. It comes from, oh my gosh, something I did, one action I took changed one person's life, then 10 people's lives, then 100 people's lives, then like you, Ray, thousands of people's lives have changed because you consistently have gone out there, delivered that value. Now you're doing it in a massive way where you're following God's call on your life and being obedient and doing those scary things. That's a scary thing, right? So you think of a Ray Higdon in network marketing. What could he possibly be scared of? Well, God puts him in a situation where now he's preaching a sermon and doing an altar call. And that's the scary thing, right? So it's that next level for you of where God is taking
Yeah.
you. I want to quickly talk about your book too, The Faith-Driven Network
Yeah.
Marketer. Even if you're not at that level, guys, or you're like, I don't quite know, or think about what faith means in just believing that you can do this, in just believing that you have been put here for a reason. If it's just to change some lives, isn't that an amazing reason to be here on this earth right
Yeah.
now doing the thing that we do, right? So absolutely, Ray, tell us about faith over fear. It's so funny, that first video that we did, the interview, it was your first Top Earners Academy live that you guys were about to do. So you guys were just going into that. Now it's faith over fear.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, what people will get from it, what that looks like, why they should be there, either in person in Orlando or live, where they can get these tickets.
Yeah.
Hear more about it.
Yeah. So, first of all, we have more number one earners speaking at this event than I think any event that's ever existed. And, we have so many different rock stars, legends, anywhere from, just absolute marketing geniuses, which we are heavy on marketing, right? We do teach a lot of marketing because I always have. I've always been, a big fan of attraction marketing, social media marketing, et cetera. And so when a couple weeks ago, I got into a more lengthy prayer and I said, Father, what would make your heart happy about Faith Over Fear Live? And what he's given me the marching orders for is for everyone that attends this event to better learn and hear from God regarding their business and career. See, I don't do an interview, I don't read a book, I don't go to a meeting, I don't work with anyone unless I'm getting that in prayer. In fact, every one of the speakers I didn't pick. I prayed. And I'm like, hey, should they speak? No. Okay, great. Should they really them? Okay. And and so this isn't Ray's picking here. And so there are two marching orders. Number one, to help people better hear from God regarding their business and their career. Number two, to learn the strategies and tactics that are going to help you make a bigger impact. We're called to be the light. You're the light of the world, a city on the hill that cannot be hidden. And so we're called to be that light in a time where it's really, really needed. And someone asked me, I was speaking in Salt Lake this last week, and someone said, well, what if you're not sure about God? And I said, listen, we all have we are all wired to crave a connection with our Heavenly Father. We will try to, find it in other places and love or, sex or drugs or fame or money or whatever, right? And I tried finding it in all kinds of, different things too, but it all wasn't fulfilling. And so we're going to teach you how to have a better connection with Him, and what are the strategies that you'll walk away equipped with to go and grow your business. And so you can learn more at faithoverfearlive.com. But it's in Orlando next month. And we have people coming from all over the world, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, England, all over. And we're really, really excited about that. We haven't yet. We will, toward probably the beginning of October, open it up for live stream. Right now, it's in-person tickets are available only. And I would just encourage you to if you can be unreasonable, and get there, and most people they want an unreasonable result. They want to go from, like, in 2009, I made $19,000. 2010, I made 350,000. The next year, 700,000, then 1.2, then, went on and on and on. And so people want an unreasonable result always, but they don't want to be unreasonable. See, it's reasonable to not travel. It's reasonable to watch from home. It's reasonable to not get a hotel, to not book the air flight, to say how inconvenient it is. That's all reasonable. And so if you have reasonable goals, stick with operating at a reasonable level. If you have unreasonable goals, then you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to sow some seed. You're going to have to put some in the ground. You're going to have to step up and show what is your energy you're actually putting towards your goals. And I would just encourage people to get there in person. If you absolutely cannot, then, beginning of October, we'll open it up for virtual tickets.
And what are the exact dates again, Ray?
October 31st to November 3rd. And these are the dates that I also didn't choose. So think about this, not just Halloween, but right before election.
Right.
So
right.
has there ever been a time in history that more light was needed during that period?
True.
And so we're going to have a wings and bling party. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of kids stuff to do in Orlando, of course.
Sure.
And so, we're excited. We can't wait. It's interesting to me that this is the dates that the hotel had available, and this is the dates the Lord wanted. So that's what we're doing.
Wow. Hey, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to pick, guys, if you're watching this now, not a replay, if you're live here now, and I took a picture of everybody who's here, I'm going to pick up 3 copies of Faith Over Fear. And then, Ray, I want to recommend 3 other books that you have, or another book that you have that I could get people, because I think maybe if they read it, it just may make a difference for them. So, I mean, we know Faith Over Fear, right? So that book, right? Faith-Driven Network Marketer. I'm sorry.
This is the newest.
That we're going to get 3 copies to give away. But if you only attend next week's wrap-up call, recommend another one, and I'll pick these up from you, and we're going to give them away.
I would say the leadership one. Basically, I
have that.
What I've done with 500 plus 6, 7, 8 figure earners, and I put it in a 100-page book. And so a lot of people have gotten value from that as well.
So we're going to do 3 sets of those. Ray, I'll figure out. I'll go online or whatever. We'll pick them up. We're going to get 3 sets of those, and we're going to give it away. You show up next week to the call when we do the Ray wrap-up call, just like we did with Tanya, the Ray wrap-up call, and we're going to give them away then. But you have to have been here tonight. And if you're not, if you know somebody who wasn't here tonight and they really want the books, tell them to get on the next call. I mean, let's just really understand the value of the call. Ray, thank you so much. I'm going to let Angel take us out with you. Thank you so much. I know you're here because of your relationship with Angel going back 11 years or so. Sure. We really appreciate it. We actually did meet a couple of times before. I was actually at your house one time. But
I thought I'd met you, but I wasn't positive.
We met, and we talked about with the guy Rocco. Remember the kid Rocco?
Okay,
Rocco.
Yes.
Exactly.
I knew we had, but I was trying to.
And you were very gracious. You were very gracious. I was forced down your throat, but you were extremely gracious. We'll talk about that someday.
It was perfect.
Okay.
No, Ray, we appreciate you so much and taking some time out for our community to deliver this value. So much notes, so much stuff to cover next week. And thank you for just always being you, for showing us what that looks like, no matter how your life changes, how circumstances in your life change. They may go up, they may go down, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're always going up. They go up and down, and we have to be able to put ourselves into those situations and still be confident in what we have, especially here as a community in network marketing. And I think that what people find here are people like you and leaders in this profession that are saying, hey, I'm not perfect. This is what I've gone through. This is what I've been able to achieve. And it sets that standard, guys, for you to look forward to and to look up to, but also know that people of Ray's quality come and just share the value and just want to still continue to help people without being paid for it, without, getting anything in return. But hopefully in return, a lot of you guys are going to go to Faith Over Fear in Orlando. I think that that's going to be just a massively insane movement happening there. I can imagine the energy in that room for those.
A lot of familiar names on that dais. A lot of familiar names up there.
Yeah. So guys, and if not, worst case, get the book and tune into Ray's training. You can find him, Ray Higdon, on Facebook and Instagram. And are you on TikTok? I don't spend much time on TikTok.
I have an account I don't really tell people about,
Okay.
but it's been like, here's a funny thing about TikTok. I have a fake account, has more followers than me. All he does is take my stuff. Apparently he's better at it than me. And so like there's a fake account. He tries to sell Bitcoin to everyone that connects with him. And he uses all my stuff, and it doesn't matter how many times we complain about it. So I do, but it's a little hidden.
That's so funny. That is so funny. Well, thank you so much. And, just your growth over these years has been phenomenal, but thank you for everything you pour into this industry every single day. You're up for us, and we appreciate it. And guys, thank you all who came and joined us. Again, make sure to share this replay when it comes out with people who need to hear what Ray just shared. Very powerful. I got a couple of aha moments for myself, so that was really cool. And awesome. Thank you. So we will talk again. I really want to get to Faith Over Fear. Paul and I have to go to Mexico in October, and I'm like, okay, we got to make sure these dates.
I was just going to say that, but I wasn't going to say it live. We're building in Mexico. We're just doing a pre-launch there, but we'll see if we can make it work.
So we're definitely, I'm like, okay.
Love to see you.
All right, Ray. Thank you so much for your time with us. Thank you, Peg. Thank you, Paul. Love you guys. God bless.
Good night, everybody.
Don't